you had a class where they were real and they're like, okay, we're actually here to do something, they wouldn't have this underlying assumption that, okay, you're going to come back tomorrow and the day after and the day after, and you're going to buy the books, maybe you'll get a PhD or something later, and then you'll be fit. They'll be like, look, here's the situation. Each of us is paying $20,000 or whatever it is. Yeah. We're spending millions of dollars to pay for this like knowledge or something, to buy these books, which by the way, all the textbooks are going to be, you know, you have to buy new ones the next year. Maybe they're recycled, so they're like, okay,
they have to update history and sort of, you know, account.
Should there be an accurate criticism of some of the professors that get paid absorbent amounts of money and they're writing these books, and are these like books are required now? So like, buy my book, bitches.
So how much? I found out about that when I had to buy a book that one of my philosophy professors wrote.
Yeah,
like, it's like not a popular guy really. $55 book. You know?
You just basically like take it. You know, you want this paper that, you know, you got to play my game. How much of that do you guys?
Well, I think not how education should be, but I think
it gets down to, you know, what's the motivating factor for whatever the group is, and it's hard to find groups that are really organized to really change things, because there are other groups that are organized to keep things certain ways.
Yeah, and so you're thinking right there. You know, that's a more complex, but I think it's more realistic way of viewing the world.
Earth.
I mean, there's real stuff going on. I mean, like you know, you have you know, multi-billion-dollar companies that like people have an image of government like it's incompetent, a bunch of idiots, and this or that. But you got to understand that there are corporations that have long-term goals. They're not saying, okay, like Lockheed Martin. Do you think they have like, okay, and in 5 years, let's just be done with the whole thing?
World peace, yeah.
You know, it's like, no, it's like, we want to keep selling weapons, and let's keep this going. And you have to understand that someone who's going to come forth and just be like, okay, here's world peace, easy peasy, you know, whatever, it's done.
Right.
Very clear conflict. Someone who's coming in who's going to say, look, everybody's going to be so healthy that they're only going to consume foods that are good for them. That's just like, woo, you know.
There goes the CDP.
David, do you secretly have a Iron Man suit, and are you going to try to save the world with it?
Well, I mean, like basically, like I came from a perspective. First, I was atheist, and you know, I thought, you know, I love debating and things like that. Then I started asking some questions.
And it was like, is that
atheism and debating? Yeah. Absolutely. You know, then I started asking some questions, and at a certain point, it's just like, it made sense even just from a selfish point of view. It's like, if I want to have kids, and I want my kids to have kids, and those kids to have kids, like, I have to do something so that I at least believe that the world is becoming a safer place. So that, you know, if that means that I just have to get my own, like, dome, you know, biodome and closed thing.
Yeah. Are you inviting Pauly Shore?
What's that? I would. He'd be a good time.
I think they're not doing anything right now. They'd probably join it up. We could film it, put it on the network.
I'm interested, but I mean, like, it came to that point, and it's just like, you know, what is wealth? You know, like I want tangible wealth. I don't want my money invested in things that are not dynamic. I'm going to be here. I'm going to die. I don't want to die having invested a bunch of money in a stock when I could have put that money into action. And I know I can put it into action. I know that everything that's happening, it's humans, it's resources, and it's all on Earth. You know, I buy land, you know, I can make things happen. I buy land, I can have all my food, I can have water for life. And then it's like, what do I care about an economic collapse? I have all my food, I have all my water, I have room for like many people to live. Each person that I have that comes to live is going to exchange some value and increase the value, and doesn't cost me anything. And that's the idea. Just keep expanding that. And
it's funny, like the economy hasn't already crashed. I mean, in terms of what success is supposed to be for the economy, it's not what you just described. It's supposed to be a person living in their you know, condo, paying rent, and working in a cubicle. That's supposed to be the successful economy. You know. I think it's already been a failure, because that's what is life for at that point, you know, the profits of a few investors.
I think a lot of it goes into conditioning. Just people are really conditioned and really
well, that's because
we're handed our lives, and like, I don't know.
We all watch TV from the first moment we were able to.
It takes a lot of soul searching and a lot of clearing and a lot of
deprogramming.
Yeah.
And then reprogram.
Yeah, to actually figure out what feels good, to figure out how your body feels good. And I think that's why, like, I mean, just to get started on that, like, we do a lot of body awareness stuff together, and, like, I didn't do any of that before I met David. And, like, just, like, being able to be more receptive to my body and being able to know, like, when some food makes me feel good or doesn't make me feel good, that's the first part of having, like, an action in your life, having some kind of responsibility for your life. Because you can only expand outward from your body, you know. Okay. So if you want to have a good home and food and land and a healthy family, you need to definitely start with yourself, 100%. And I'm not perfect. I definitely have a lot of work to do.
Well, see, it's a cliche thing to say, like, fix yourself first and then worry about the world, you know. But it's actually, it seems true. But we're actually told the opposite, that, you know, you can't.
David and Sophia, do you feel like you're unplugged from the Matrix? What?
The Matrix, yeah. Well, I was going to ask about the camera, which is the Matrix, so we are plugged in for now, right?
Yeah. Well, do you have an answer?
No, I mean, no.
Okay. Well, I think that, like, the truth is that we are actually independent agents. Like, we have agency. There is like a physical form, and there are things that, like, are, I feel like, natural, that, like, you know, I like it when people smile around me. I like it when, like, if another person isn't relaxed, like, I can feel that. If I'm in the car and Sophia's angry at me or something like that, quiet, like, I feel that, and she feels it as soon as I get on a bad vibe, you know, she feels it, and it's a very biological thing. Like, someone who's tense is someone who's angry to a certain degree, and, like, we want to be in an environment where the other person is completely calm. Someone who's angry, it's some degree that they're going to snap. Yeah. And it's like, we can be completely, like, open, you know, this is my brother, or we can be, you know, having this kind of, like, but he might snap, or, you know, something like that.
Yeah. People talk about the possibility of telepathy, as if that's not evidence enough for it right there, you know? Or just in any conversation, you don't really talk about only what the words mean. The conversation has a larger context. It involves posture, and that's when you're recognizing that larger context is telepathy.
You know? Yeah, I mean, here's a really good exercise for anyone who just wants to see it, and especially if you're skeptical. Call someone on the phone. You know, start up the conversation. At a certain point, decide to be comfortable in your silence. And when you're comfortable in your silence, see if you can notice how the other person responds to your silence. And a lot of times you're going to find very quickly, you can see that person's like, what's going on? Before he says anything, you're going to know it. Yeah. And if he's comfortable with it, you're going to know it too.
How much of that is based on previous conditioning? Like, how much of it is like a behaviors type of reaction? This so happens, then I get this emotion. How much of it is that? And
you just naturally hate silence?
It depends on...
Like, in a way, can you be conditioned to hate or not be uncomfortable with science and then project that feeling, which people pick up on? But in that sense, it was kind of, how much are you really reading their mind, or you're just reading patterns that are kind of...
Okay, yeah, I think you're getting into some deep stuff there, because there are subtle things going on, and there are, like, projections, or there are, like, certain, you know, ideas of, okay, if these certain conditions happen, this person's going to act like this or is going to act like that. This is okay, this is not okay. And we have some kind of read of that, of, like, what's okay. Like, I have a read that it wouldn't be okay for me to start peeing on the carpet or something. You know, like, I don't know why I mentioned that.
But we also...
Predictor of the future, you.
But if it was like a party and you were totally wasted, and it happened, we would be like, well, you know, he was wasted. So...
well, right. So
the uncomfort, that feeling of awkwardness and uncomfort wouldn't be there if the context... If he was completely sober and you said, like, now this is a patient for, like, a mental hospital, and, like, there's a palpable feeling of, you know, but if you've been drinking, it's okay.
It's a little more reasonable. It can be reasonable to piss on the floor if there are these circumstances.
Preconditions.
Yeah, so just bring a lot of empty beer bottles and just evidence or Mentos.
Yeah, this was fun.
Like that at the end. It's okay because I have a Mentos.
I don't know about that one.
Share. It has a fresh smell.
Yeah. So yeah, I want to ask you another thing. If you guys were offered, somebody came in along and said, "We want you to do a biodome project." Would you and Sophia, would you guys like do it? Would you do this like a reality kind of? Let's see what happens if they can sustain this. Do a real life biodome. Would you guys be up for that?
We have one already.
That
Depends. It
that
depends
sounds
on
like
the
fun.
details. It
We're
sounds
doing
like
it
fun,
already.
but I
We've always been
think
doing it.
like if it had like biodome, like what kind of there'd be things
It
that I
just
want to
depends
know.
on the process. If it's
Yeah.
like, but yeah.
What if we got Pauly Shore and Stephen Baldwin?
I'm in.
On the meds.